So I went back and started talking to my OB. She did, I think, another pelvic exam. Everything felt totally normal to her. But she, at this point, had seen a mass. I think they called it an adnexal mass, some free fluid, some cysts on an ovary. And at this point, she really just made it seem like I could run into some fertility issues. So she wanted to send me to a fertility specialist. And at this point, I thought that was the end of the world. I remember walking out of there just bawling, calling my mom immediately on the phone and saying, I knew this was going to be a really hard year from that voice in my head on January 1st. I remember getting gas and being on the phone crying, and just at the exact gas station I was at, I was just so nervous. And I really thought at this point the worst thing I was going to have to go through was IVF, which really is not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. So then my OB sent me to a fertility specialist. And I think at this point we're probably end of January. So my husband and I got there, and I remember crying again in her office. This is all just like a very emotional time. I obviously am a little bit through it now, so that's why I seem less emotional now. But so she wanted to do another ultrasound, and so we did that, and she noticed the mass for her. She noticed the free fluid, and she said she wanted to make sure I got my cyst or that mass out before I tried to get pregnant. And she thought at this point my left ovary was pretty much worthless. So she was like, I'm probably going to have them take out that cyst with your left ovary, and then we'll only have one ovary to work with. So we're probably just going to have to do IVF for that reason. So the fertility specialist, I remember, also said she wanted to do a CA-125 blood test, which is cancer antigen. And this can be elevated when you're premenopausal for endometriosis, inflammation, anything like cancer. And she expected to be elevated due to my inflammation, but a regular CA-125 is 35 or less. She thought mine would be maybe around 200, and it was 1,800. So at this point, I was really panicky. We ended up having a connection to Duke and UNC from my sister's OB back in Pittsburgh, actually. So I was able to get into Duke the following Tuesday. This is like first or second week of February 2024 at this point. And I got there on that Tuesday, a beautiful Tuesday afternoon, and she immediately looked at my paperwork. And I remember she said, I'm very concerned about the free fluid. And then she said, do you mind if I do a rectal exam? Which I definitely freaked out about that, but it really wasn't that terrible. Honestly, a pelvic exam is worse. And she was able to feel my mass while she did the pelvic exam. And I think an interesting part about this is she asked, are you constipated? And I said, no, I go very regularly, pretty much every day. And I realize now, I think that's because I took magnesium before bed every night and I drank coffee. So sometimes when you do things like that, it makes you not even realize that something could be wrong, because that's the kind of stuff that will make you go to the bathroom even if you really were constipated. So that's a little TMI, but just needed to explain that and feel like it could help other people. So then that doctor at Duke, she said, we need to get you in for surgery as soon as possible. It could definitely still be endometriosis, but it could be very bad ovarian cancer. I remember her saying that. So she actually said she was supposed to go to DC the upcoming weekend. And weirdly enough, I was going to DC the upcoming weekend for my friend's baby shower. And she said her husband was supposed to watch her kids on that Monday, but he forgot he was on call, so she had to cancel her trip and had Monday OR time available. So this is 6 days after meeting her for the first time. And I remember being so scared, but knew the quicker we got in, the quicker this phase could be over and I could stop panicking and then get pregnant.